Shadowfen Lore, Part 2. On the Carnarton Flue, by archivist Nelamindur. Background. How this disease began and spread is a mystery. By gathering information, I hope to resolve the issue. Argonians appear to be immune to the flu. This has caused conjecture that they actually introduced the flu to retaliate for years of slavery at the hands of the Dark Elves. These claims have never been proven or disproven, and they require more research. Mitigation. Methods that slowed the rapid spread of the flu included burning the belongings of the people infected, which unfortunately sometimes included burning remaining family members, segregating the sick into ghettos, walling them up, or putting the diseased onto ships and setting them adrift. Normal curative spells and elixirs were inconsistent in their ability to cure the flu. Symptoms and course. General malaise, loss of appetite, and fatigue begins several hours before an afflicted victim develops other symptoms. The afflicted person's eyes water constantly, and skin develops a bright red granular rash that does not itch. Within 24 to 36 hours, victims suffer nosebleeds. Their tears contain blood, and a granular rash spreads across their bodies. At this point, victims develop a very deep, raspy cough. Within 36 to 48 hours, the victim coughs produce bloody phlegm. In most cases, the death takes place in as little as 72 hours after the initial onset, but some victims have lingered for 5 to 7 days. Treatment. When the Carnarton flu first spread, it seemed unstoppable. No reliable treatment against it has ever been proven. 10 years ago, a young Redguard named Bredzida claimed she had a vision from the divines. She replicated the cure from this dream, testing it on a village scheduled to be razed, together with its inhabitants. Her cure worked, and the village was saved. The cure required clanfear claws boiled in salt water. The patient would then drink the liquid. This increased trade of actual and purported clanfear claws on the black market, and caused prices to soar wildly. So many false cures had proven fatal that Bredzida's cure was never officially sanctioned. As she later died of the flu herself, its efficacy was eventually considered dubious at best. The clanfear cure has given rise to many other supposed cures, all of which involve boiling something in liquid and then drinking the result. For the poorest of the population, chicken broth proved not only cheap but easily obtained. It typically soothed their coughs, which in turn allows patients to breathe more easily. Chicken broth is definitely not a guaranteed cure, but it is certainly the most accessible. It is recommended should this dread disease ever return. As the granular skin rash was non-irritating, many left it untreated. Those whose rash remained covered, whether in bandages, poultices, or simply clothing, seemed less likely to infect those who had attended them. This also accounts for the much slower spread of the disease in the cooler climates during the winter months. Have you heard of other cures? If so, please submit your reports directly to me for further investigation. Remember me. A tunnel, a cave, dark, damp, and warm. Scalesong rang towards the hazy light, hearing his footsteps echo in the narrow passage, sinking deeper into the mud. "How can I sink in this?" he asked aloud. "I am of parents born in Blackmarsh." When he could no longer move, Scalesong bowed his head, listening to the moisture dripping from the roots twisted above him. Soon it would be over. He would return to the Hist. How embarrassing, though, for an Argonian to suffocate in mud. His eyes opened suddenly. He'd had the same dream every night for weeks. Each night he felt he was nearly at the cave's exit. Everything would be made clear once he reached it, and each morning Scalesong awoke, no closer to understanding the meaning of the imagery. "Clearly the Hist speaks to you," said his egg brother, Gashtail. "Tonight, ask it what it wants. Talk to it." "I'll try," said Scalesong, "but I never remember it's a dream until I'm awake." Gashtail reached into an earthenware jar on the shelf beside him. He handed Scalesong a thick roll of leaves tied with twine. "Burn this," he said. "The incense may clear your mind. If the Hist wants you, you must listen." Scalesong nodded. A device like this was precisely why he'd sought Gashtail's help. For the first time in a long while, he couldn't wait for night to fall. The burnt incense filled his hut with thick grey smoke that coiled heavily along the ground like fog. Scalesong hadn't expected it to smell so horribly. Still, he watched the smoke spread slowly throughout the room, his eyelids growing heavier and heavier. A cave? A tunnel? Smoke drifted along the muddy floor. Scalesong stopped running and reached out a hand towards the smoke. Talk. Ask. Speak. Are you trying to tell me something? He asked, loud. I'm dead. Dead? Who are you? The smoke coalesced into a shimmering figure, hooded and cloaked. Its tail twitched. I'm dead, the figure said. Without it, all that I am will be lost forever. Find it. Remember. It. What is it? Scalesong followed the figure through the dark passage. His feet no longer sank in the mire as in all the other dreams. They walked in silence. Scalesong was alert, but untroubled. It seemed like hours before the pair reached the tunnel's exit. The shimmering figure sighed deeply and pointed towards a shriveled tree. A hist, said Scalesong, surprised. Is this it? Dead? But how? Remember, said the figure, unfurling it into the wind, but not before it pressed a mnemonic egg into Scalesong's hand. The right magic for the job. They said the work would be hard, but Husmahim did not expect it to be so back-breaking. To be paid, Husmahim needed to fill 8 baskets a day, but his tools were crude. Small mattocks are not made for clawed hands, not when they formed the only tools available. Rust-colored liquid seeped from the piles of slag, staining everyone's scales dusky orange. Husmahim crawled forward a few feet, dragging his baskets behind him, so he could pull apart a new section of earth and rock. The miners tapped apart rocks and sifted through the mud for a rich variety of reagents found only in those oozing mines. The miner beside him said, Finish my 8th basket. You? Almost done with 7. You're always done first, Splittail. What's your secret? Hard work, said Splittail with a grin. Also, I made enough to buy a bigger mattock. Cheater, said Husmahim with a good-natured chuckle. I'm heading out. A cascade of dry earth slid down the terraced wall towards them. The miners, used to these collapses, grabbed their workloads and quickly moved away. There! Someone yelled. Husmahim and Splittail, still beside each other, looked to the slope above them. Though the dust rose from the slithering scree, they could see shapes hurtling towards them, leaning back on their heels, arms outstretched for balance. Ogres! Tell them! A blow silenced Splittail, knocking him to the ground. A dozen ogres attacked the unarmed miners, wielding nothing more powerful than their beefy fists. Husmahim ducked, a right hook still clutching the basket to his chest. He had to get to the village and warn people. Ogres hadn't been seen near the mines for at least 12 months. He scrambled forward. Realizing he still had a basket, he flung it away so he could use both hands. A brute stronger than Husmahim grabbed his tail and pulled him backwards, and then let out a scream of rage and pain as Splittail swung his proper-sized mattock at the orc's head. Run! Splittail cried. I hope you've been enjoying these lore readings, and if you have, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.